it already feels like home.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig.
First things first this week. Guys, don't just stop right here when you hear that Debbie Bettendorf, who's written a predominantly women's book, is our guest this week. All right, I'm going to say that right off the bat, because if you do, you're going to miss out on some really cool stuff. This is a great conversation. Debbie is a local resident here in Chillicothe that has written a new book based somewhat on her business, Find Your Fabulous, but it's really blossomed into a lot more than that. And she's just somebody with a lot of gratitude and a lot of energy. And you can find out the only piece of advice that I don't take from her book at the end of the episode. So you got to listen at least that far to figure out what I'm not doing. So here's our chat with Debbie Bettendorf. Well, you have joined us completely live and pre-recorded with Debbie Bettendorf, local energy source. That's and the author of Find Your Fabulous, Love Yourself on the Inside, Look Great on the Outside. I do some of that first part, and I think it's subjective whether I look good on the outside. So
it's all how you feel.
It's all how you feel. That's right. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It means a lot to me, you guys having me on here.
Oh, we're excited. You know, as we've tried to do this podcast, one of the things that we really try to do is to try to, and I think we talked about this earlier, like just try to peel back the layers and let people see some people that they may not run into on a regular basis, maybe aren't in their friend circle or whatever. And you certainly are one of those folks because of your work with Keys to Success and, raising those two awesome kids of yours.
Yeah.
And putting up with Dave, I guess, a little bit too.
A little bit, yeah.
And it's really funny. When I first came to town, I remember people telling me that Dave played in the Orioles system. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I don't think I met Dave for like 5 years after that. And then I met him and I was like, well, he's a nicer guy than he is probably even a really good baseball player.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
So
he's a good guy.
I'm super excited to have you on. And I think that there's some really great opportunities for people with your book. I just was paging through it here. Thank you for the copy.
Yes, absolutely.
Jules and Lucy will love that. I would also notice that the first story in the book is a girl named Lucy.
That's exactly right.
So that's pretty awesome.
It's a girl named Lucy. I created a fictional character woman in my mind, combined with all the wonderful women I have in my life, and made this character of who would want to buy my book. And it's basically every woman who means anything to me, all wrapped up into one. And so basically any woman would enjoy this book. It's a lot of feels, because that's how I roll. It's the warm and fuzzy feels that I get. We all like to look good on the outside, to other people, and we're human, we're visual. But the reality of it is, I have in there, and this is kind of my humor, but you can wrap up a turd in a cute outfit, but it's still going to stink. Yeah. So we got to work on what's on the inside and love ourselves, so that whatever we wear, we own it and we have confidence. And that's where beauty really stems from. So the book is kind of a combination of fashion tips, but it's also a lot about loving yourself and how to do that.
Yeah, you mentioned, I think, a couple different times on social media in particular, it's even a hashtag that I think you use. It's not about the clothes.
Correct. Yeah.
Which I think is a really important thing, because I think you're right. There are so many, and this is just true of people in general, I think, but you can see people that really look like they have it together. And on the inside, there's a lot of turmoil and a lot of secret stuff that maybe we don't know about, or even just scars and past hurts and things like that. And I think one of the good things
that just gave me chills for some reason when you said that. Because that's true. We just don't know what's going on inside people,
Yeah. And I think what's really cool about your book is that as you flip through it and you page through it, number one, I think it was really smart to do it as an easy read, a quick read. You could probably read that book 2 or 3 times through, really immerse yourself in the content. Was that an intentional choice to kind of do it that way?
Yes, it was. And I wanted it to be something for busy people or not. It, whether you work from home or you're settling down or you're busy corporate person, whatever. But I really did want it to be something that wasn't a huge investment of time, but what you read on the pages stick with you and you think about for a long time after you put the book down. So I know myself, I'm a busy person, but I was in a book club for 12 years. I love to read. But it gets to a point, I don't know how it happened, but I thought I was busy when my kids were little. And somehow I thought I was going to have all this time when they got older. And I guess I've just immersed myself in so many other things that I'm super busy again. And I'm not home as much to read. So, I thought, let me create a book that's, you can pick it up and open it at any page and just read that page and get a message from it and put it down. Or you can read it cover to cover in an hour and be done with it. But then, like I said, I hope that the pages that are read will be in your mind and you'll think, oh, that just kind of popped up in my head, like that. I got to share this. I was at TJ Maxx the other day. Shocker. I keep that place in business. And so I ran into a friend and she said, hey, I want you to know something. I got up this morning. I was feeling really down. And she said, I looked over on my bedside table and your book was laying there. I picked it up and read a few pages and it really did make me feel better. I'm like, oh, you have no idea how much that means to me, because that's what I want it to do. I want to lift people up and let people know that, it really, we love clothes. And it's funny that I've had a business styling people for all these years. And it may seem strange to hear me say it's not about the clothes, but I've always known that. But I've always loved clothes and fashion. But the more I worked with women, especially women, because I have male clients too, but I started to recognize that there was a common theme, and the theme is this person's beautiful and she doesn't think she is. And this outfit looks amazing on her that she picked out herself. Okay, so what's the deal? Well, I think it just was the common theme of being confident, secure, knowing who you are, being okay with who you are, and like I said the other day, I was actually on a different podcast the other day, and my point to all of it is none of us are perfect, but we're on a path to try and become better, and we'll never reach perfection. That's unrealistic, but we can also really work on just being a better version of ourselves, which is the butterfly, right? That's where my logo came in years ago when I first started this idea of creating a business before a book was really a thought. A butterfly transforms into another version of itself, and it happens to look a lot more beautiful than the little wiggle worm, as my daughter used to call it. But the wiggle worm is beautiful too. It had a purpose, and it ate those leaves and it fattened up and it transformed and then it flew away. So that's kind of how I feel our place in this life is, that we're on this journey and we're transforming. And one of these days we're going to fly away, and hopefully we've made an impact in our life for the others that we leave here, and leave a legacy of some sort in a better, positive way.
Did the book come out of your business? So you probably never even thought about writing a book until
I'd actually thought about writing, but I love to write. Okay. So I have always journaled. In college, I would write, the short stories and essays, and I've had them say, "Hey, this is really good," And I always said I was going to write a book about my grandmother, because she was a huge influence in my life and she loved everybody. She was the kindest person on the planet. I truly believe that. And but she said really funny things, and she was from Kentucky, and she moved here when my mom was about 2 years old. She had the thickest Kentuckian accent, and I just loved it. And she'd say, "Well, you can't hardly tell I'm from Kentucky until I say biscuits," just as a joke. So, but she would say the cutest things. And I always said, I could write a book about the things my grandmother said. And, but obviously I never did that. She is in a couple of the stories that's and find your fabulous. But my job my business as a stylist, it blossomed into, I should write about this and write it in a way that's a quick, easy read, but is inspirational and motivational, all wrapped up into one. So that's kind of where it stemmed. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting because, one of the books that has really, really influenced me as a community person, was the Quint Studer book. And I mentioned this, a couple times in the podcast, but it is also written as a pick up a chapter, read the chapter when you need it. Let's say it's the part about education and transforming your community in education. There's a chapter there. You can read that separate of the other chapters, or you can sit down like I did over a week and read it twice through.
Yeah.
Because you just devour the content. And I think, a book is pretty good when you can pick up those different chapters and still get the content. And after you're done, maybe reading the whole thing, you go, oh yeah, this was seamless. This actually, it's all did piece together. And, I think what you're seeing from the feedback that you're getting, I think, is that people are feeling that way.
Yeah. It makes me really emotional, like to even think about having someone, having someone that I know give me feedback like that means a lot to me. But then I had a really good friend of mine whose mother lives in North Carolina come to town for Christmas, and she's an avid reader, and she read the book while she was home. And she sent me the daughter, I don't know her mother, sent me a message that, wow, I loved it. It meant something to her. So I know that the book will mean something more to some people, and not, we're not for everyone. Our writings aren't for everyone, but for who they are for, wow, how awesome for me that I get to feel that I've made an impact in a positive way in someone's life.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool thing to see the amazing feedback I'm getting and the opportunities that I'm getting. Like, thank you for having me on. And I feel a warm welcome from you guys. And this is my hometown. So it means a lot to me that I'm on this podcast and with you guys. And then to have the opportunity to be on others from different places. I'm going to be on a podcast that with video. He's in California, but it's more of a business type. It's not like a sit down. It's more like angles on selling and advertising and marketing. But I met him through the Ken Walls Breakthrough Walls podcast. So it's just like, one of my really good friends, Trudy, God love her. She said, remember that wave that you caught in Hawaii and you wanted to surf? That's what I'm all about. Like, really. And at this point in my life, I just really want to experience things, have fun, life's short. Let's live it. And I said, yeah. And she goes, well, right now, I feel like you're on a wave. Yeah. She's like, I know you're tired. You've got a lot going on. It's the holidays, but ride that wave, baby. Ride it until you crash out. And I'm like, I'm going to ride the wave. I'm really enjoying being able to, publish a book, talk about the book, meet new people. It's a great experience for me. So, it's great.
That said, let me set the book aside for just a second. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you've been doing in the community. Keys to Success in particular. I know that you've been very involved in the marketing aspect of that, the recruitment aspect of that. For those people that don't know what Keys to Success is, let's explain that a little bit and then talk a little bit about what your role is with that. Okay,
cool. I appreciate you bringing that up because, Keys to Success is an important part of the Chillicothe City Schools program because, we all know that across the country we have drug addiction is running like crazy still, right? Even though everyone's really trying to make a effort to make it stop, but it's still there. So, Keys to Success is an anti-drug program, but it's also an educational program. So what that means is every student can be in the program, and there are 3 core components to it. It is be a good citizen. First of all, stay off drugs, be drug-free. But it's also be a good citizen, which what does that mean? It just means, stay out of trouble. Don't get in trouble with the law. Come to school. Don't be tardy. Don't skip. And then pass your classes. Okay. So it doesn't mean you have to be on the honor roll. It just means you have to pass your classes, just like an athlete would. And then it also requires every student that's enrolled in the program and signed up and had a legal guardian sign for them to be able to be drug tested. They get drug tested at least twice a year. Throughout, at the beginning of the year and then at the end of the year, every student in the program gets drug tested. But throughout the year, they do randoms. So they'll just computer generated, pull names, pull them down to the office and do the drug test. If someone tests positive, they don't get kicked out. There's no way to get kicked out of the program because why? We want the kids who are doing drugs to stay in the program and have a support system and get the help that they need. So we have counselors and we have nurses to help. Okay. And they have to report and do the counseling. And during that time, they'll get tested again. The one stipulation is you don't get kicked out. You still get a t-shirt. You still get to participate in all the events, but you can't win like the car. Okay. If you test positive that year. So what we've decided over the years, because, it was a program that was created by Gary Von Kennel, and it was not something that had ever been done before. So with any new program, there's ebbs and flows, and there's also things that change and we have to mold and figure out. So we thought that the whole purpose is to give kids a chance to be better. So if you test positive, you don't get kicked out. We just get you the help you need. And then next year, that slate is clean and you start from, so for instance, if you're a junior or senior, you're in the drawing for the car. But if you've tested dirty, then you can't win the car that year. But if you try again next year and you do great and you're negative all year and you're coming to class and you can win the car. Now, the other, we get a $15,000 grant that we've applied for each year from the courts, probate juvenile court. And they provide us with this grant that we can buy all kinds of tangible prizes for everyone else in the program. We draw names. So they're able to win those things, even if they have had a strike, but they can't win the car, you know? So it's not about, and the other thing is, you have people you just, that'll have something to say about, well, it's not about material things or whatever. But the whole reason this was Gary's idea was, I just want to give an incentive to maybe the kids who don't have a lot of parental support, who they know I'm going to get grounded. I'm not going to see the light of day if I do drugs or if I skip school. Give these kids an opportunity to have an excuse to say no. Mm-hmm. And in his mind, he thought, I don't know, for me, when I was in school, and Gary's the first one to tell you, he wasn't the best kid. He was always doing things wrong and he didn't get good grades. He just passed. He said, but if someone would have said, dude, you can win a new car, that would give me an incentive to then perhaps say, I have an excuse at least to say to my buddies, might get drug tested and I want to win this car. So, along those thought processes, then you can kind of see where this program's coming from, it's not really about giving kids stuff as much as giving them an excuse, right?
Yeah, I think that's perfect, because that was what I did when I was a soccer coach for 15 years. I told my kids, listen, use me as, throw me under the bus as often as you need to. Mm-hmm. You're not going to drink at that party. You're not going to do drugs at that party because of your soccer coach.
Yeah. Oh, that's great, Marty.
Use me. You need a ride home, you call me. But the biggest thing was use me as your excuse. And I didn't have those other incentives other than them getting to play soccer. But I just wanted, as a coach, it was just as important to me as for me to teach them the game as for me to teach them to be good people.
Oh my gosh, that's even more important.
And that was that was always one of my goals. And so a lot of what you're saying is, so many kids are right there on the fence and they find themselves in an awkward situation, and it doesn't take a whole lot of incentive to give them that excuse to say, listen, I don't want to lose my shot at a car. Mm-hmm. I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it is when you're the kid that wins the car. Mm-hmm. And when you have an opportunity to win the car, or you have this opportunity to win other things. I know a couple of years that I had threw some longboards and skateboards in.
Oh, you
when I was
sure
making,
did.
When I was making skateboards. And I still see one of the kids that won the skateboard one year riding around town. And of course, now he's out of school, but I'll see him and he recognizes me and he's like, I'm still on my longboard.
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing we enjoy too, being able to see the community support surround it. And even though a lot of times, you know, the grant money, so my role is to, you know, market advertisement through our venue to have money to keep the program running. Although the program is, the biggest cost for us is drug testing.
Sure.
Outside of that, everyone pretty much takes care of us. So the marketing monies that, you know, I sell, the advertisement and whatever, it does go, some of it, to Keys to Success, but also helps the athletic department and the general fund and things like that. So like when we get the new scoreboards, we got to pay for those and things like that. So, you know, it's just a really good thing. And for me, it's easy for me to sell these ads and sponsorships because I believe in it. And I believe in our school system. I believe in what everyone's trying to do, even though things don't run always perfectly with anything. But I do believe that the hearts are in the right place and everyone's trying to align for the greater purpose of educating these kids, and not just with reading and writing, but also, like you said, Marty, you know, the life after they leave the four walls of Chillicothe City Schools, that they understand and they have some type of foundation to take on and live in a good, productive way.
Yeah.
So it's all good. It's easy. It's good because the community always seems so supportive too. So it makes it fun for me to have this job.
It actually occurs to me that you do two things with the program when you say you're not going to kick the kids out. One, number one, you're giving them that idea, that incentive. Hey, look, you can still stay in the program. You're not eligible for the big prize this year, but it does put them in a position where it says, you know what, you can get the help you need. And they may have never
Had anybody say
anybody tell them,
Yeah.
here, we're going to connect you to the resources that you need to get, you know, to not have to rely on the crutch of drugs or whatever. Not to mention the fact of, we've all been that age. We know the ups and downs and the mood swings and everything's, you know, some people don't have the coping skills to deal with that stuff like maybe some of us in this room
Or the
have.
support system.
Yeah, and when you put not having the coping skills or the support system together, I mean, you know, I tell people this, but it's, and some people don't like to hear it, but it's like, what other choice do they have other than drugs if they don't have those things, right? So this gives them that third option to say, okay, I'll stay clean because I have an incentive to do so. But I think the real prize at the end of the day, whether it's, you know, you have to get your help or not, it's either the help that you needed to get clean, or the incentive and which builds the support structure, right?
Right.
The coping skills that, because look, you know, as you get older and you become, you know, the proper age to drink, it ain't like things get a little easier.
Right.
There's a lot more peer pressure and a lot more, you know, disincentive to do those things. And so giving kids these coping skills is super important, you know.
It is. And you raised another, made me think too. And I mean, just reminded me that we want the program to be like their family, where, you know, you may get in trouble, but we're not going to kick you out. You know, we care, and that they feel like they're a part of something good. And it was really upsetting to me during 2020 when really the world shut down and the schools were released and these kids were all home, and some of them that may not have the best family life and may not even live with parents. I worried about them, you know, and I thought, oh, you know, how's that going? And so we had, with the Keys to Success program, it was very deflating because we weren't able to gather or do anything. So it still wasn't a perfect year in 21, but now we're into 22, and I'm really excited about an event we're going to have for the Keys students. We're real quick, I'll tell you about this. It was just like, I am also a person that I absolutely do not believe that there's coincidences. You know, I just think that everything's for a purpose. So I had met with Dre Day Videos, who is working on a Keys to Success video for us. Another one. He did an amazing one. I don't know if you guys saw it. Okay. So he's working on another one, and I met with him on a Sunday at Tim Hortons on Eastern Avenue, or Main Street, East Side. And while we were there, he had two people who were helping him who are recovering drug addicts come, and he dropped off some cameras. Well, I started talking to him, and, you know, then Dre left and we kept talking. I'm like, can I video you for the Keys to Success page? Because wow, your stories are amazing. Then after talking to them a little longer, I realized that one, his name's Brandon. He really wanted to do, he had no idea what I'd done. Okay. He didn't know me from Adam. I was listening to them. He wants to do a fashion show with the people that's in recovery right now. And he's a photographer. And he wants to have a large picture of them when they were on drugs behind them. And then they walk out now. And I can just see it. I'm like, wow. Brandon, I want to get this approved for our school to have you come and do that at our school. And he's like, I would do it. And it would give all of these people such a fun thing to look forward to also. So everyone's saying yes. You know, so I told him, and we're going to try to do that in March. And then, of course, we'll have the big year-end event. But, you know, there's other little things. Greg Phillips works with, he's like the ambassador to the ambassadors. We need to get better on getting back engaged, because with the program and have things going on, it kind of threw us all for a... Sure. I mean, we're still drug testing, we're doing all that. But, like, as far as activities where they can feel more a part of it, we need to get back on that.
It's just been tough with the pandemic to do those things. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're all kind of hoping that maybe later this year that we can start to see maybe next school year is a normal.
I know. What's that mean?
So it's like normal parenthetical question mark, right? Like, you know, I just think what's been happening with Keys to Success outside of the pandemic, it's just been such an important thing for us. I mean, obviously Gary's motivation was seeing his hometown on the news and
oh yeah, he hated that
and just hated it. And you know, I've been there when he's made his speech about getting involved, and you know, it's a really cool thing that he decided to come back here and really invest in us.
How many people really do that? You know, that's very, very cool of him. And I always say, I've really gotten to know him so well. And when I first met him, I thought, oh, he's a little rough around the edges, but he's so soft middle. I mean, like, his heart is as big as he's like a big old teddy bear. But you know what I'm saying? You got to give people a chance to get to know him. And now he's one of my favorite people. He just truly would do anything for the people he cares about.
So you do marketing then both for Keys to Success and then some stuff for the athletic department.
Yeah. And then, you know, we obtained the old Chillicothe Racquetball Club. So now then that, you know, I thought of the idea of doing naming rights instead of fundraisers. I think people are fundraisered out. And also it was during the pandemic that I started my seeking out sponsorship. So it went really well. I mean, during the pandemic, it's still, you know, we got a lot of sponsors because we have a crazy, awesome town. Yeah. I mean, people just rally around whatever they can do to help support. Yeah. You know, I love it.
Yeah, we love it too because we get to share those stories.
Yeah, that's exactly
and then,
right.
You know, Kingston National Bank is a huge sponsor for our school. You know, with the jumbotron ads and anything they can, they're always giving. So thanks, Marty.
Yeah, I mean, I found that to be the case too when we tried to bring Quint Studer here in 2020. You know, the price tag for that was not your normal chamber annual dinner price tag.
I was there. It was a great show. I mean, I bought his book. I loved it.
Yeah. And I mean, essentially what we did was I just said, well, we're going to kind of do the same thing. You'll have, your name will be on, you know, you're the ones that brought Quint here and went to 5 different places. They all gave me money. I mean, literally it was probably the easiest fundraising I've ever done because
And you know why? Because you believed in it. It's
Yeah.
an easy sell if you can stand behind something.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately reading the book and then devouring the book gave me the energy that it needed to just make it feel like an easy thing. And I think you've probably felt the same way.
Yeah, 100%. And also, I got to say, let me just give you a shout out for that, because you barely slipped that in right before the world shut down.
We did.
It was the last thing. I remember it like it was yesterday, because it was the last event I went to for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And it was a good one. You put on a good show. And Bobby, that girl, I'm telling you,
Yeah,
she's amazing.
Yep.
Bobby Hollis-Kello.
Yeah, and I will also give credit to Dwayne Nisley, because I believe that OU as a group, the main campus, wanted to cancel that event.
Oh, I'm sure.
But he kind of lobbied for us. So I'll give Dwayne a little.
Campus shut down that day.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what?
That was the day that campus shut down.
Yeah.
And so we kind of we had the planets aligned for us on that
that
day.
was a
So we were
great
pretty happy.
event.
But and so hopefully that'll continue to happen for everybody in this community, really.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
this is big. Verizon Fiber Internet is ready
Let them get you hooked up and power your Wi-Fi network.
with the speed and reliability that only a 100% fiber network can do.
Verizon is ready to help you do what you do better. With real people, real rates, and a real service.
Connect with them today, and the first month is free, plus no contracts and no data caps. Call 740-772-8331
Or visit horizonconnects.com/Chillicothe
to sign up today. So let's go back to the book then, because I think, I look at the book and I say, since it was, I don't want to say how long did it take you to actually pull everything together?
So it was about a year before I published it. I started thinking, I'm going to do this. And I'm a little bit type A, and I'm working on it because I think, trying to be perfect is so ridiculous. But I always try to say to myself, if I tell myself I'm going to do something, I need to follow through, because we need to be able to trust ourselves. And so when I finally got the courage to say, I'm going to write a book, I knew I needed to write the book. I need to continue to trust myself. So I did. So, the cool thing about it is, Marty and Mike, is that I had written a blog for a while. And so I had some of the stories that and so I used that as my kind of like starting point and worked around it. But I always knew in my mind, I really want to put a personal touch to it. That's where my handwriting comes in. And it was really funny when I was shopping for publishers, because I had to, scan in my handwritten pages into a document and then send my manuscript off. And I had some publishers were like, do you need an editor to take the pages that you sent that are handwritten? I don't understand. I'm like, no, I want them to look just like that. And they're like, well, what about like the little art? Do you need artwork done? I'm like, no, I just want it like that. And I got to say, it was very difficult for me when I started writing just on a 8.5, 11 white piece of paper. And sometimes I'll use cursive, sometimes I'll print, but you know how your handwriting changes like daily. Oh, yeah. So over the course of a few months, when I would just like, today I'm feeling inspired and this is what I want to say today. And I was like, ooh, that's crooked on the page. And that's like, and then I'm like, no, Debbie, it's fine. And in the book, I'm telling people, what is Find Your Fabulous? Okay. To me, finding your fabulous is knowing who you are, being okay with it, owning your beep, owning your crap, and saying, you know what? I like myself. I'm okay with who I am, and growing from that. So I thought, if I'm telling people to own it, why? And perfection, not perfection, no. I am going to leave it like it is. And it's just going to be like I've seriously written. And I used to write notes to my kids all the time, put them under their bed, pillow, in their book bags, stuff like that. And that meant something to them. They always remember me doing that. And I thought, I'm going to do that for the reader. I'm just going to send you a little note, and I mean it. And it's interesting too. And I don't even know that I've said this out loud to anybody, but every page I would write, I would kind of say my own little prayer over it and say, whoever this gets to, let them absorb this message and let it mean something to them. So, and I think the reason it's as successful is because it's super genuine. I'm not just saying these things for the heck of it. I truly mean it. And I think people know. People are smart. Their intuition, they know it's in there for a reason. So,
yeah, there's an author that Marty and I both enjoy, Rob Bell, who writes a lot of spiritually oriented books. And I remember when his first books came out, he wrote in incomplete sentences, or he would put certain things in lowercase and do all these different things. And I remember people telling me it's so hard to read his books because he doesn't write like everybody else. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the point, guys. Like,
that's right.
You know, he's trying to make a point, and when he tells you something in all in lowercase letters, maybe it's just something you need to see, you know, and he's trying to make you look at it. And I think, you know, when you go through your book and you see the stuff that's in handwriting, I remember when I first looked at it, I thought, well, that's odd. I don't remember seeing that in very many.
Yeah.
But then the more I looked at it, the more I kind of felt like there's a purpose to that.
There is. And some of the things that I've handwritten are important to me. And it's like some of the things you can read really quickly and flip on, but I hope people don't. I hope they let it kind of sit a little while and think, why'd you write that? There's a reason. And it's things that, you know, I have learned along the way. And I'm certainly not someone that can sit here and give a ton of advice about how to find your fabulous, because I tell people all the time, listen, some days I wake up and I got to look for it. You know, some days I feel fabulous and some days I feel like I've lost it and I got to re-find it, you know, but, I definitely think that fabulous is within everyone. And some days you just need to dig a little deeper to find it.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. This morning when I woke up, kind of felt like one of those days. And maybe there's some days, especially when I came off of like a 2-week layoff, I thought, I don't really want to go back to my kids will feel that when they go back to school tomorrow, for that matter. Yeah. But, you know, I think, there's such a great focus right now across the nation, I think, on empowering women and also on mental health. And I think it's something that we've neglected for far too long in terms of mental health, and honestly, empowering women, we've neglected that for far too long too. Honestly, I think about it this way. I have 4 daughters. I had 2, and then I had a son in the middle. I have 2 younger ones now. It took me having 2 daughters to figure out men don't treat women real well.
Yep.
Some don't.
You know, yeah, that's right.
And some women don't treat men very well.
Right.
You know, but it's just a matter of us always, you know, we all of us need to be able to play out of the same playbook.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that each woman needs to stand her ground and find her fabulous, so she's confident and she can, you know, stand up for herself. And that's the best. That's the best when you figure that out.
And when you love yourself, you can love other people, right? Like,
and it does. And I always say, you know what? When you love yourself, it opens you up to be able to love others on a deeper level. My mom always said, well, Debbie, some people are only capable to meet you and the way you love to a certain level. And it's not that they're loving you as much as they're capable. And I remember thinking about that and thinking, oh, you know, not all of us are capable of the same amount and giving and receiving love too. You know, some people don't want you to love them. Yeah. You know, it's deep. If you really think about it, like we could go way deep into that conversation.
Yeah. That's like a 3-hour podcast. Yeah. That's a Joe Rogan podcast at that point.
I think he got kicked off though, didn't he?
He's still out there. He's still doing his thing, but he's just on Spotify and doing 3 hours at a time now. So, you know, I think you're right. You know, my own parents came from really bad upbringings. My mom was in an orphanage for a while. My dad never really had a relationship with his dad.
Oh, wow.
And so I grew up with all that stuff on me, right? And it influences the way that I am as a parent. I actually probably go to the other side of that spectrum now. You. But you know, I'm the fun dad, I think sometimes, and I'm like, oh man, I got to really be the heavy now, and it makes me anxious. But like I think we all learn, and so you know, sometimes we need a little push from a book or from a chance meeting with someone or a new relationship with somebody that we, you know, as a friend or even a spouse or somebody like that, sometimes those things help you find your fabulous, regardless of whether you're male or female or whatever.
You're right.
And I think it's very important that we kind of just learn to look at each other. We don't know what everybody has gone through.
Right.
And so, being able to say, I love myself enough and then I'm confident enough to let you be you. That's a pretty key thing to have.
Yeah, that's a big thing. That's a big statement. It is. And it does take a person who's confident to allow other people to be who they are and accept them. Have you ever met someone, and, because of us being human beings and we're visual, let's just face it, right? Have you ever met someone and you didn't really find them striking in any way? And then you encounter them again and again, or maybe you work together, or maybe, and you get, and I mean, for me, male or female, not gender specific, but, and then you get to know them and they become striking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's if you really think about, and I have someone in my head, and of course I'll never say it, but there are people who I know who I think are gorgeous after I got to know them, and I just think that that's important for people to remember because, like I said, if your energy oozes out of your body, people feel it. It's not all about how you look on the outside. You got to work on what's on the inside. And I'm still a work in progress. Like I said, we wake up some days feeling fabulous and some days it's a little harder to find it. But I certainly know what it's all about. It's just, human beings, it's difficult sometimes. Life can throw you some stuff that you don't really necessarily love and you got to figure your way out of it. But yeah.
So I'll tell a little story about Debbie. I met with Debbie in my office when I first started at Kingston National Bank, and we were talking about the video board and advertising on that. And she walked into my office, and I was wearing a jacket, a sport coat, and she was like, "I love your jacket."
It was a good one. And I remember it.
And I kind of laughed when you did that. I laughed because somebody else had said that same thing about that jacket. I was like, what is it about this jacket? But
I wear this jacket
every single day. But every time I put that jacket on, I go back to that conversation. I'm like, well, Debbie liked that jacket.
I look good in this jacket.
My wife likes that jacket because she bought it for me.
Yeah.
And because I think that was my answer. I was like, I don't know. My wife, she's like, where'd you get that at? I'm like, I don't know. My wife bought it for me.
Yeah. I really wanted to even look at the label. I loved that jacket.
It's still my favorite jacket. But what I'm like, I guess what I'm getting to, and the point I'm trying to make is it's amazing what a little bit of encouragement does for people. Yeah. When you take a moment out of your day and you're genuine with people. I didn't think you were trying to sell me anything by giving me that compliment. It's like, hey, man, I really like that jacket. And it stuck with me. And it reminded me that I have the opportunity to do that for other people, that I can, at church a couple weeks ago, one of the ladies on the worship team, she was dressed really nice. It was for Christmas. She was dressed really nice. And I was like, oh my gosh, you look great. And I didn't even think about it
just came out naturally.
Yeah. I was like, oh gosh, in today's day and age, are you allowed to say that? I don't so then in my head, I was spinning. Yeah. I was spinning and it was like, should I say something? Apologize? Oh my gosh. And can you please?
I take it all back. I'm sorry.
Right. But how it is that those things they're small things, but they're so important because going back to the original part of our conversation was you never know what's going on inside somebody. And when you mentioned about, there are people that you first meet them and then you get to know them and how different they look to you after you find out the quality of person and their character and all those other things that make them who they are. So it's not just about their look, that when you see all the other things that are involved in that person and who they are as a whole, then it changes your vision of them. And I think I think
that is beautifully said, Marty. And it can work the opposite way too, unfortunately.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to say about complimenting people is, there's always something that you can say to someone that's positive. And, you don't have to make something up, because everyone has something beautiful or unique to offer. And I feel like if you think, you shouldn't sit there, what can I say nice? But, when you're in your daily life, that was so good of you to say, because I've talked about this with my children a lot. If you like something and you feel like saying it, say it. Because Tori always used to laugh at me, and she's like, you scare people. You walk up to strangers and like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I do. Maybe I do, but I want to say what's on my mind. And if it's a positive thing, and sometimes they do look scared. Like, I don't know you. Why are you talking to me? And then sometimes they're like, oh my gosh, thank you. But you know what? It's a chance I'm going to take, because if I really want to say something nice to somebody, I just shoot it out there.
Yep. The dogs have entered the chat again. So that's good.
My dogs.
I love it.
Come in. But to add to what you just said, my mom always told me it doesn't cost anything to share a smile with somebody. My mom was always particular about, you just always smiled. Every time you'd meet my mom, she would smile to people. She was always, and then that's what she wanted from her kids. And so I heard her say that to me over and over again. It's like, it doesn't cost you anything to smile. Mm-hmm. It does not cost you anything to say something nice and to be nice to people. And I think that we live in a world that almost doesn't allow for that anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think that we have an opportunity to change that.
Yeah. And podcasts like this can be encouraging to people to say, I didn't really think about it like that, but yeah, it doesn't cost anything to be nice, and it doesn't cost anything to smile. It's free, and it helps the world be happier. It's that positive energy is so huge, and I believe in it. And how can anybody feel good when they're mean to somebody? Yeah, it's never made sense to me.
No.
I want to give you an opportunity to brag on your family. Your kids are tremendous.
Yeah, thank you. I am very, very proud of them. I am.
Should be.
So tell us what they're doing now. They both graduated from CHS.
Yeah. They're Chillicothe. They went to Bishop Fleget. And then they went to Chillicothe High School, graduated. Dalton is my oldest. And then he went to the University of Cincinnati, and he got himself a little business degree and also a psychology undergrad degree. And then he's never been particularly fond of school, but he's always done extremely well. But he just isn't like a great student, if you know what I mean. But he got great grades without really trying that hard. But yeah, so he graduated, and he really loves psychology. That's like his thing, and it makes sense. He's a really good listener. He talks a whole lot less than his mother, and just like a really old soul and a good vibe from him, and people trust him very easily. And so I told him, I said, listen, I know you love this, but you might want to go ahead and, double major, because if you hate school, and if you don't go on to get your PhD or your master's, you need to have a job. So maybe get a business degree. So he did. And then he started working for Paint Valley Mental Health back in Chillicothe, but now he's in Columbus, living in Grandview, and he works for Wexner, the Harding Hospital, the mental health hospital. And he just told me over Christmas that he is applying for grad school to get his master's. He's doing really well, and the people that work with him really like him, and they're like, Dalton, you really need to go. You can help people. Like, he's doing well. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted on that.
All right.
If he goes back or not, it's still out on that. And then my daughter Tori, she's Victoria, but she's a Tori.
I've always known her as Tori. In fact, the first time I ever saw her full name, I was like,
who's that?
Well, that makes sense, but I never knew that was her name.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It's funny because she's always been she's a Tori. She's not a Victoria. Mm-hmm. I'll just leave it at that. So she's in law school now. So she graduated. She actually went to Youngstown her first year, and Jim Tressel gave her a really nice presidential scholarship. She was going to go play softball. And then she's like, I'm really burnt out, and I have a lot of hardcore goals, and I don't think I want to be married to softball, and I'm just kind of done with it. And we're like, okay. Well, then Tressel said, your grades are great. You got a great grade on your ACT. We'll give you the presidential scholarship if you still want to come here. So she's like, I'm in. That's amazing. She didn't get scholarships anywhere else. She got in other places. So she went up there and she loved the actual school, but people left on the weekend. So she ends up telling Jim Tressel, listen, I appreciate the scholarship, but I've gotten into Ohio State. So she left and went there her sophomore year. She graduated last spring from Ohio State, and now she's at Capital Law School, and she's loving it. She loves it. So
Yeah, that's great.
they're
That's
doing
awesome.
amazing things. I'm just so super proud of them.
Yep. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the one thing that I wanted to touch on is you have maybe the strongest group of friends I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm pretty proud of my friend group and my guys, but your girls, your girl gang is pretty.
Yeah, they're pretty
stout.
stellar.
They roll deep for sure.
Yeah, they sure do.
Yeah, I've never ever felt so much support and love in my entire and the amazing thing is though, my friends from my childhood, we're still going strong.
Yeah.
A lot of them live a lot of different places, but we come together every couple of years and we stay in touch throughout the year, and I love them. And I just think that we've always been really honest with one another and just supportive from the core and non-judgmental, because it's important to, a lot of times things are going on and we don't necessarily agree, but who cares? It's not my business. My business is to be your friend, and that's kind of how I handle things in my life too. So I don't want anyone judging me, so I don't judge other people.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right way to think
if you
or
ever
not.
decide to write another book, maybe that might
You
be a
are
good
writing
subject.
another book, though, right?
Well,
Yeah, I
you did
am.
hint around about that.
I am.
But that could be a subject of how you build a strong friend
foundation.
circle. Yeah.
And the reality of it is too, like, I always feel like if someone trusts me with something that, isn't personal to them, I feel really honored. Mm-hmm. So I would never repeat it because I don't want to lose that trust. Mm-hmm. So, I think that's valuable, you know? So it's not my story to tell. So, you got to keep it inside.
Yeah. Well, Debbie Bettendorf, find your fabulous, love yourself on the inside, look great on the outside. I'm probably not going to opt for nude pumps. But
What if I
nevertheless-
saw him at the next event? He had on nude pumps. Look, it matches my skin tone.
But I didn't even mention you were also one of the hosts of Dance for Kids' Sake this year.
Yeah, I love that.
And I know you love doing that event.
Love it. I love what they stand for.
Yeah, you are. As I said earlier, you're an energy source, man. Keep churning your energy in Chillicothe.
That's right.
Because we need it. We need to keep finding our collective fabulous.
All right. I
And,
like that. Find our collective fabulous.
And keep if you're gonna keep doing books like that, just keep churning them out. That's all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So
I
we
appreciate
really
that.
thank you. Really thank you for coming in.
Thank you both.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig.
It feels a little strange, but I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it all